This is my 23rd year in video games. I feel like I've seen every single way that something can go wrong.
You fix one thing and then just like 10 more things are broken.
What about working on this project has you fired up or excited?
Knowing that we have a direct hand in like relaunching the brand, it's really, really exciting to kind of be sitting on all this like cool stuff that's coming out.
Yeah.
And knowing that like there's so many fans out there that have been dying for a new Splinter Cell game, and being able to bring back nostalgic pieces of the first game and like kind of making them more up to date and kind of like today's standards. That's really, really fun. What are you currently working on? Please share what you can.
Okay. Right now, this very moment, I'm working on basically the player's equipment. We have a bug at the moment where you pull out the pistol, fire a few shots, put it back, and then press reload, and you hold up your empty hands and reload nothing. So it's kind of a dumb problem, but it really just spiraled out of nowhere.
I'm currently working on player traversal, all kinds of different types. So ladders and pipes and vents and zip lines and rappels. And so it's really fun because it really plays into like the ghost aspect of Splinter Cell, and allowing the player to do a full ghost playthrough. So that's really exciting of like I am having a direct hand
Oh yeah, for sure.
in allowing the players to do that.
The rappel feature is going to be an interesting one to work on, I think, right?
It originally seemed really simple. It's just almost like a vertical pipe. And then designers came and they're like, no, we want real rope physics, and we want it so that when Sam is hanging onto the rappel rope, the rope like slightly bends at wherever he's touching it, and like it slightly sways in the wind if it's an outdoor rappel. And so originally what I thought was super, super simple was definitely not.
Yeah, you never really know which thing's going to spawn out into like 20 tasks, but it's always good to know it ahead of time.
If life were a video game, what cheat code would you want?
Infinite money. Yes.
Yeah, motherload.
Yes.
I mean, it's probably just a debug tool, but player teleportation
Oh, yeah.
or God mode.
God mode. Yeah, that's so obvious. God mode has like, yeah, all of the benefits.
Yeah, but barring God mode, I think player teleportation, just like pop by to anywhere.
Can you describe the programming community within Ubisoft?
In one word, great. Everyone from it doesn't matter what like job family they're in, they're all so nice and helpful, and they're so willing to share their information and to kind of take you on the journey of what it is. So yeah, it's really great and helpful and wonderful.
Yeah, I think like the amount of knowledge sharing is really impressive. Like the internal programming conferences where people show ideas that are just to Ubisoft. Maybe they'll bring them to GDC eventually, but just people really passionate about improving things. The AI tech lead is starting a thing on Fridays where he wants to have a regular meeting to share information between people. That's really inspiring.
Yeah, and I think like even if you communicate to someone like in Kiev or something, they've always just been like, oh yeah, you're a completely random person, never met you, don't know anything about you, but let me answer your question.
Yeah.
Anyone who I've kind of contacted that randomly, they've always been so nice and helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
What qualities or traits do you think are required to excel in your role?
I think being probably very detail-oriented helps a lot because I spend a lot of time doing code reviews, so I have to keep an eye out for what can possibly go wrong in somebody's code. So I spend a lot of time looking at it to make sure that there's no sort of obvious errors, and then there's sort of no knock-on effects, like what happens if 10 people start using this thing? What happens if we have, you've written some code for a grenade and we have 100 grenades in the level, and what happens then? Just sort of keeping everything in mind. So yeah, just being very pedantic, I suppose, is a word.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a review where you mentioned like, oh, hey, this might cause multi-threading issues, and that started this whole kind of discussion and adding new features and stuff like that. So yeah, that was something I definitely didn't even think of. So it was great to have you on board and checking that out.
This is my 23rd year in video games, so I feel like I've seen every single way that something can go wrong. So I'm pretty paranoid about it.
Yeah, I think generally as a programmer, you need to also be a really good problem solver, because we get these quote unquote problems from designers, which are really just designs of different features. And we have to kind of figure out how to create it or how to implement it in already an existing system. So I think problem solving is probably also a really important thing that programmers should know.
Hero. That's a villain look.
I think a story is only as good as its villain. I think a villain has a lot of like different things that they can pull out of the hero. And so, yeah, I always really like to see what different villains are. What's one thing you've learned from the other person?
Like the work you did on the vents, those object graphs for the vents, that's really cool. Like I didn't realize it was possible. Like I didn't think about that application of creating, a block out for designers that way. Like it's really cool.
I think the first impression was like, oh, you have a lot of knowledge and I want to try to get access to it as much as I could. You're really, really good at spotting like little tiny issues or things like that in code reviews. And so it's made me better at like trying to preemptively spot those things in my code.
When I started, we didn't have code reviews at all. You just checked in your code whenever you felt like it. So you would kind of be leaving all of these landmines for people to discover at a later point. And then at the end of the project, maybe 2 years later, we would have a big sit down and argue about everything. So it's very different from what we do now. What did you do before working at Ubisoft Toronto?
So before working here, I was in school. I did a 3-year course at Humber College for game programming. And then I went to York University for computer security. And then I broke into the industry through the Develop at Ubisoft competition. I had been trying to get into the company for years. I think since like 2017, every year I'd be kind of competing in Next or Develop at Ubisoft or any and all avenues that I could. And then in 2020, I was able to win the programming competition, and that got me a 6-month internship. And then luckily I did good work. And so they renewed my contract and then I became a full-time employee at Ubisoft Toronto. This year got the opportunity to judge the Develop at Ubisoft competition, which was really fun and trippy being on the other side of the table. But yeah, it's been really, really fun to help like encourage and inspire the newer generation of programmers to get into the industry and to get specifically into the company.
Before Ubisoft Toronto, I worked at a small indie studio here in Toronto called Drinkbox Studios. And before that, I worked in a place called Silicon Knights in St. Catharines for 11 years, which is where I started. We were working on Windows NT for the GameCube.
I imagine though, like working on one console is much simpler than.
Oh yeah, you don't have to work. Like if you write something and it works, then it works everywhere because everywhere is one thing. You're working on a TV screen, so you know exactly what the resolution is. So all of the menus in the first few games are done like by pixel. Somebody was sitting there and going like, okay, this button goes at 40 pixels over and 20 pixels down, whereas that just doesn't fly these days.
You have to live or survive in one of Ubisoft's games permanently. Which game is it going to be? I'm trying to think of like any of the casual games.
Yeah. Like Splinter Cell is the most normal universe, right?
It's the most grounded in reality, I guess.
Well, there's always like a little bit of sort of arrogance in my mind. Like I could do okay in The Division. I think I've got things pretty in hand.
Maybe like Assassin's Creed Origin. Ancient Egypt is always fun, but you're like plumbing.
Yeah, and there are random guys just running around stabbing people as well. Just Dance?
Yeah. Perpetually dancing.
Yeah, every day dancing.